Hey everybody, welcome back to Everyday Journey. Today we're going to add a video to the Can I Fix It playlist. And what I've got here is a Porter cable oscillating tool. And let's see, it says PC 250MT type 1. A buddy of mine that gave this to me said he plugged it in. Well, he said he was using it and it just didn't work. So I'm going to test that real quick. We're going to plug it in, and sure enough, nothing. Try changing the speed down here, still got nothing. So obviously there's something wrong inside. So let's go ahead and unplug it and get inside it. Alright, so first things first, I think we're just dealing with an electronic issue, sorry. So I'm going to go ahead and try to take the head off of this. I don't think we need that part. It should just have a gear assembly and things like that. This is just Phillips head screwdriver. We're going to undo these 4 screws. Get that loose. Let's see if we can get it off. But first off, let's go over what we'd be looking for here. Sometimes in the cables, sometimes you might have some type of fuse. This does not have anything that I can see. So I'd check the cable itself, go down it, look for anything that looks like it got cut or anything like that. Because obviously if you're not getting power to this, it's not going to work. So that doesn't seem to be the issue. So let's see if we can't get the head of this off of here. Looks like it's pulling out, but doesn't seem to want to go the rest of the way. So let's try these other 2 screws. There's a screw here and a screw here, just to see if it won't let these loose. Because what it's trying to do is try to pull the whole armature or whatever right out of the motor. We don't really need that. These are different kind of screws here, so you're definitely going to have to pay attention to that. Hoping this will let it loose. If not, we'll go ahead and take the other 2 screws here off and see if that doesn't help. Nope, doesn't seem to be. So we'll go ahead and take the rest off. And what it looks like is this release assembly here needs to be taken off because it's part of it. So that looks like an Allen, and it's probably metric, but I'm starting with the standard ones. As long as it's not too tight, you can make it work. This one right here seems like it's loose. Now this is spring loaded, so we're gonna have to be careful, make sure it doesn't pop. I've got my thumb on it here, and it looks like we actually have a nylock washer or nylock nut on the other side. So let's hold it with this, and there it goes. It seems to be coming off. It seems like the spring is holding some tension on it. So put the nut back on there just a little bit so I can tap on it without messing up the threads. And it's still going to fight me, so we're going to use the pliers and go ahead and try to pull that out and hope for the best as far as the spring tension. Alright, luckily that wasn't too bad. Now you do see the spring that's on here. We want to make sure and keep that in place, or at least keep note of how it's supposed to go. That way whenever we put it back on, it'll be right. So now this should come apart. And I was hoping that that would allow this to come out, but it doesn't look like it's going to. So I think at this point, I'm going to go ahead and take the housing apart. I didn't really want to go this far into it, but that's the way it is. Gotta keep going until we get to the problem. Alright, so I've already checked these. These are actually T15. So let's go ahead and take these off. It looks like there's 4 down here, and I don't feel any underneath that sticker. So we'll try these 4 first. It's actually just a cover. Oh, so it is brushed. You can see the brushes here on each side. Normally there's some type of screw that you can undo from the outside so that you can pull those brushes out. In this case they're all on the inside, so that's what's holding the armature in there. And what we can do to get that out is take a couple of flathead screwdrivers, or at least one, and pry that out open. Let's go ahead and pry them out, or pry the carbon part out, and then take the whole spring assembly and everything out of here. And we'll do that again on the other side too. And now this should slide out, and it does. So here, what we're looking for is, this is where your brushes make contact. So we're just going through and looking at all that, seeing if there's any burned places or major chips or anything like that out of it. Look for the same thing with the wiring. All these coils that are wrapping around this, make sure that you don't see anything burned. And I don't see anything here, so let's go ahead and look back at the electronics part of it. And we can take note of this just as well. I think we might have found our problem right here. This wire right here is actually supposed to be connected to the circuit board right here. And there's actually a blade that goes into here, and it is not, I mean, it's broken completely off, maybe even burned off. We'll have to check that, but let me zoom in so you can see this. Alright, so again, you see there's a brown wire over here, and it's got a connector that goes down on top, slides down over one of the blades, just electrical blade contact that sticks up. This one is the same way, except for the fact that it is actually burned off inside there. And again, I'm not sure if it's burned or if it just broke, and then it could have at that point started arcing some, because you can see, let me show you this, you can see right on the inside there, right there where my finger's pointing, that there's some electrical splatter, kind of like it was welding. And if it was arcing to that, it could have been actually arcing and in a way welding. So what we need to do is go ahead and pull all this out and see if we can't figure out why that was doing that. It could have messed up a lot more things in here. We just need to see. So without actually pulling this off of this other connector, I'm going to see if this circuit board will come out, and it doesn't look to be able to easily, so we'll go ahead and take this off. These aren't going to matter so much, but here is our on-off switch right here. It's weird because this thing actually, let's see, it's weird because this right here, this is the switch, but what it does is it actually slides something way down here at the bottom that activates that switch on and off. I'm going to zoom back out a little bit. There we go. So what else we have here is a speed selector that revolves back and forth here. And then a couple other components here. One looks like it might be a variable potentiometer maybe. I can't really tell. You got a resistor, a couple of little diodes, but nothing here looks bad. So my guess is we just need to replace that blade right there. The question is, do I have a blade like that that'll work? Alright, so I think I found something that'll work. This actually came out of a microwave and it looks like they would fit. So my next thing is actually trying to get this one out of here. Don't know if it's going to happen or not, but we're going to give it a go. So I'm just trying to pull back the rubber protector off of it. So hopefully I can get in here and pull this piece out. Oh, there we go. So we got that out. Just in case there's any carbon buildup in here, you kind of take a screwdriver and scrape around in here, make sure that you get all the excess crud out of there. So that actually worked, at least to get that out. I'm not sure if it's going to be a permanent fix or not, because this connector may be loose or something. That could be part of the reason why it messed up too. So now we got to desolder this other blade connector off of here so that we can solder it. Well, desolder that one and then desolder this one and then solder it onto here. So we'll see how that goes. Alright, so my soldering skills are not anything good, but maybe, just maybe, they'll get the job done in this case. So let's go ahead and hook everything back up, put everything back together, and then see what it does. Alright, so the moment of truth. It's all back together. Got the blade on it there. Let's go ahead and plug it in and see what happens. Make sure it's off first. No sparks, that's a good sign. Dial looks like it's on 1. There we go. Well, that wasn't really that hard. It was a little difficult to figure out how to get in there. Although had I known, then I could have probably just taken off this cover right here. 4 screws and it would have come apart. But I didn't really know for sure, so I had to just start taking things apart. As long as you're careful, a lot of the times, and make sure that you keep all the screws and stuff like that separated so you know what goes where. But as long as you're careful, a lot of times you just take things apart and look for signs of misuse, abuse, broken things. You could, in this case right here, it was something simple. The wire hanging loose like that. Yeah, it was a little difficult to solder it in there because I'm not that great at soldering, but a little bit of practice. You can always take scrap electronics. Like I said, this came out of a microwave. Wasn't planning on using it for anything. Just happened to have the parts that I needed on it, so I just desoldered that off of there. Alright, so the 3 things that I needed for this to be able to fix it was, first off, a soldering iron. So this one's a little more expensive. Still pretty cheap, but it's a little more expensive. The other thing I used was a solder and sucker, I guess they call it. And that just helps suction out the majority of the solder. And then the last thing was right here somewhere. Maybe I'll knock that off too. There it is. So the last thing was a little bit of soldering wick. And this just gets the last little bits. Sometimes you don't need that, but in this case I did because I couldn't get it apart. But that's all I needed to be able to desolder it. And in soldering, a little bit of solder and a little bit of flux. And of course your soldering iron and some practice. But as you may have seen there, I'm not that great at it. The biggest thing was just to make sure it had a really good connection, because a lot of power goes through there and you want to make sure it's got a great connection. So it looks like it's working all right. I think my buddy's going to be happy. Only bad thing is he already bought another one just to be able to finish the job. But now he's got 2, so maybe he's going to be happy, or maybe he can return the other one. I don't know. So anyway, luckily we got this one fixed. Glad to see whenever I try to fix something, it actually does get fixed. If you guys got any questions about this, definitely send them my way. Like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. Hopefully I have something new here in the very near future. But if not, then I'll have it just as soon as I can. Until next time, y'all take care.